tell you what, Schmo, that it was fun, man. Celebrating 420 with the one and only, the legendary Mike Tyson was super cool, man. We went to Hippie Hill out in San Francisco, and man, the next day, Schmo, I slept for like a whole damn day because I have never smoked or done so much mushrooms in my damn life.
The Schmo can only imagine. So many people there. It's like you were on your own movie set. Everyone was just there in the background and you two enjoying life, clearing the pathway for royalty walking.
Exactly. That's what it was. But I walked for Mike for a little bit, but then I was just like, man, I started getting like these, I didn't want these people to start trampolining over each other. This shit turns into a big mess where, you know what I mean? Have you seen that before where 20, 30 people end up dying because they can't get out? I was just like, so I had to exit out too because it was almost too crazy. There's 40,000 people there, Schmo, which is absolutely nuts, man.
Reminds me of Simba and the Lion King when you got the herd walking through and almost trampling over the poor young lion. And with that said, welcome back to the Triple C and Schmo Show. I'm the Schmo. My partner's got an Olympic gold medal. He's the double champ, currently known as Humble Henry. Also Triple C, Humble Henry, not the king of cringe. How we doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, Schmo. I'm doing good, man. I'm just so happy I got to wear that crown no more, Schmo. You know,
I don't know. Taking its beatings. Had its better days.
It has. But let's get this time going because time is money and money is time, Schmo. Let's get this show rocking.
So 420, you spent the day with Uncle Mike Tyson. You were shrooming. You were getting stony baloney. Must have been a great day. But then later on that day, because the Schmo wants to connect the dots here, you were with him. You went to the airport with him. Were you on the flight with him? He had an altercation with some fanboy. Punched the guy out. Rightfully so. The guy was being a schmuck.
Yeah.
What's the details, man? Lead us to the promised land.
You know what, dude, and I have never seen Mike so happy, man. I have never seen Mike Tyson so happy. And we went to Mastro's that night, and then we ended up jumping in the same car, so we went to the airport. So this is an hour before the incident. But I have never seen Uncle Mike in such good spirits, man. So this dude must have really crossed the dude. Because before Mike hugged all of us, he gave us all a kiss before he took off to Miami. I came back home to Phoenix. And yeah, man, little did you know, man, some dude just happened to just cross Mike. And Mike was super happy. It's almost like you want Mike on mushrooms and you want him high as heck, because when he's not, man, he could be that different, he could be a different human, but that dude just happened to push those buttons. I believe from what I talked to Troy, his manager, who's a good friend of mine, he said, because he was with him, he was the one that was blocking Mike from hitting the dude, but he said Mike Tyson just had enough. By the time he pitched a water bottle over with, full of water. So once he saw that, he was just like, he said, Mike got up. He said it. He freaking probably hit up with 30 combinations before they actually started filming. So don't cross Uncle Mike. Doesn't matter who you are, where it's at. He will stick you in front of the world, and that's exactly what happened.
Why would you poke a sleeping bear? Like, why would you do this? This guy was looking for his 15 seconds of fame. The Schmo saw that he had a criminal record. Always not a good sign. Antagonistic. Clearly, you saw it from the video. But, man, talk to Schmo about, what you guys were doing throughout the day. Obviously, you're getting high. Any great stories? It just seems like such a juxtaposition from how great the day was going, and then we had some dark cloud with this dude coming at him on the plane.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what happened, Shmo. We went out there, we got to San Francisco about around noon, hung out with Uncle Mike at his hotel for a couple hours, just chit chatted, got a lot of cool ass B-roll, and
you asked him about your comeback.
That was it.
You bring up your comeback.
I talked about my comeback. I did, Shmo. So I did talk about my comeback. And all that. So he was giving me advice, man. So actually, I'm probably gonna break the news now, Shmo. There's actually a big documentary coming out with me on Netflix. So it's another reason why I ended up coming out to California, spending that time with that day. So you guys will see a lot of behind the scenes, with me and Mike and pretty much a lot of the celebrity friends or a lot of stuff that I've done in the sport. So I'm excited to announce that here on the Triple C and Schmo show. So prior to my comeback, I would love to fight so people could actually get to know my story. The man behind the cringe. I'm not sure on the names thus far, but I would love to call it the real Triple C. Because I think it's just, I think people need to get more in tune on, what is it, who is it that I am, and what is it that I've done, and how is it that I've done it, Schmo. So that being said, man, it was a peaceful day with Mike. It was a peaceful day. It was a great day. I mean, like I said, man, from mushrooms to Mary Jane to all that, it was a day full of love until right before midnight hits. Somebody decided to chuck a water bottle at Uncle Mike, and he just didn't have it, man. So, but that's the cool. That's the cool. That's the cool. That's the cool side about it, Schmo, is the fact that Mike is so genuine. He don't give a shit, man. He don't give a shit.
The Schmo was going to ask, if you were in Mike Tyson's shoes and someone was doing that to you, Triple C, same position on the plane, how would you react?
I'd probably be humble, Henry. I'd probably. I don't know, Schmo. I don't know. I guess sometimes when you see red, but I don't think I would have done what Mike would have done. I don't think so. I don't know, Schmo. Yeah, I'm crazy, but I ain't that crazy.
Well, Triple C, you're a crazy guy. We appreciate you dropping the bombshell with the Netflix documentary. Michael Bisping won't be the only one with one, because Triple C's got his coming. And Ronda Rousey, I believe, got hers on Netflix too. Let's get into the gold medal moment. The Schmo was FaceTiming you on Friday night, got no answer. We saw you were in Vegas. We knew there was business. You met with the UFC brass, huh? Targeting that comeback. Who was it? Hunter Campbell and Sean Shelby? You had dinner?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. They kind of gave me the lowdown, like the scope of how things are kind of forming. And, there's a lot. I think there's two weight classes that are really open, and I really want to, take a stab at either one of them. Because there's TJ, Al-Jalame, there's Holloway, there's Volkanovski. Like the terrain is it's pretty nice, man. I'm sitting in a good position right now. So we talked over dinner. We were there for I was with them for a few hours. We there's a lot that we have to talk about, but it was to say the least, Schmo, was a great meeting.
So 125.
25.
Well, go ahead. I was just going to say 125 is 100% out of the picture moving forward. You can confirm that?
Oh, hell yeah, man. They ain't never make it
25. Thought so. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, the only way that I would, if I was to ever fight 25, it'd probably be against Demetrius Johnson. That's the only guy that would lure me back in, because I know I can beat the rest. But just to see my improvements of how far I have gone, and that's why I would want to pick Demetrius. But yeah, 35, 45, like, a lot of those decisions are not done yet, because I want to see what is it that's I want to see what is it that's going to end up happening. But they love to come back. They walk me back. They would never have dinner with me if they didn't want me back. But I think my next meeting, man, I would love to be with Dana White. I think there's a lot that I need to talk to him about, and kind of where everything kind of came from, because I don't know, Shimo, like me looking back at it now, obviously he's the boss man, he's a businessman. I did probably, I probably did go overboard a little bit with the words, but man, this is just strictly business, man. You know what I'm saying? So maybe an apology, but at the same time, it's, the boss, you can't hate on me for trying to fight my fight too. I would just eventually like to meet Dana, because I'm not sure if Dana's the biggest Triple C fan. Even though I know he respects me, I think I probably went under his skin a little bit on some of the antics that I did.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't.
Schmo, you too.
Hey, maybe he wasn't too keen on the way you went about the retirement in Jacksonville after the Dominic Cruz fight.
Yeah, but can I be honest with you though too, Schmo, on that?
Yeah.
I think you're wrong, and I think everybody else is wrong too, because I had already talked about retirement to Dana, about it. and this is the same reason why I retired. But I don't have to say it here, But it's the same reason why I retired, and he was already given like not that he fucking cares, but I had already given him that kind of a couple fights ago. I was like, hey man, I think I'm just gonna, I'm a prize fighter. Anyway, so it turned out the way it turned out, and that's it. But I love the position that I'm at, Schmo. Whether I am back, but I'm not back until I actually at least sign for a fight or actually fight the fight. So, we still gotta let Ali do his job. I like to reconcile with Dana and see what we can do, man. There's a lot of fun fights for me. They know that I come out and scrap.
Do you get a sense they were pushing you towards 135 over 145, or do you get a sense they were leaving it more open-minded between the two weight divisions?
I think that they wanted to hear from me. They wanted to hear from me. But what they do want to do is they do want to move the divisions. They do want to move the divisions, man. They do want to. They want a champion that's going to continue to keep winning and coming back, and that's going to keep the division. A fighter is going to fight three times a fight. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're necessarily interested in me, winning a belt and then right away going. There's so many options though, because that all changes too when you become champ, though. You know what I'm saying? So let's say if I was to go down to 35, I would win it, I would defend it, and then potentially going up, or I could possibly have the option of waiting for Holloway, Volkanovski, catching the winner. A lot of options, and I think I've earned it, Schmo. I think I've earned it with my accolades. Not only what I've done in mixed martial arts, but in combat sports in general, from becoming the youngest Olympic champion in USA wrestling history in 2008 to, dethroning Demetrius Johnson, and the same reason why I probably even started the gimmick, Schmo, because people need to know, man. I defended both my belts. This isn't a GSP grab. With all due respect to GSP, and because he is a legend, I felt like there's another person that I've shitted on quite a bit, But I'm not planning on doing that. I'm not planning on pulling a GSP. I think once I'm in and I'm happy, let's see how far we can push this. You know what I mean?
So a couple quick questions. How many fights technically are on the contract that you would fight? Like, how many fights would you have? So at least 2 guaranteed, yeah?
Yeah, but I think what's on my contract, I think there's 3 fights left on my contract.
Okay.
So,
and is it a guarantee?
There's a lot of different. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Schmo.
No, you go ahead. Schmo's just got a lot of great questions for you, but keep going.
Yeah, no. So there's 3 fights There's 3 fights left on my contract. You know what I mean? I can either fight them out or wait it out.
Well, there it is. But so is it a guarantee the next time you step in the octagon again, there will be a gold belt on the line? That's the only way. You got to be fighting for a belt.
Of course. That's the only way that I'm going to fight. I'm not going to fight any other way,
And what about this Aljamain Sterling tweet as of recently?
I just felt today with the matchmakers. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to right the wrong. I'm going to come back for all these tomato cans. And I just said, Aljamain Sterling, you're my number 1 contender. How? I like it all. This is the cool part about it, though, Schmo. It's like there's 2 divisions that I could go to. You know what I'm saying? There's literally 2 divisions that I could go to, Schmo.
But only one can give you C4.
Yeah, but only one could give me C4, man, and that's what I'm after. So I think the biggest thing is just wait, man. Just wait and see, because my biggest thing is my timeline. I do need the time. I do have the 6 months, which is super good, and maybe add a month or 2 on top of that, and then that's when I would want to potentially make my comeback, my return.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We heard from the man himself, Mr. Henry Cejudo, on the comeback. Let's go into the silver medal moment. Tyson Fury, he knocks out Dillian Whyte. Great uppercut right there. Triple C, is Tyson Fury your heavyweight boxing GOAT?
Tyson Fury. How many? No, you still gotta go with the Klitschko, dude. You can't go with the now, man. I know boxing very, very well. Vitaly Klitschko did some amazing things, man, and he reigned as a heavyweight champion for almost. He only had X amount of losses, but he defended his belt so many times against the absolute best in the world, man. So I'm gonna have to go Vitaly Klitschko, unless I may be wrong on this, but for the heavyweight division, that's the one that really comes to mind.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, yeah, Muhammad Ali. When there was only one heavy, you know what? I'm gonna have to go Muhammad Ali. I take that back because you know what? Back in those days, there was only one heavyweight champion. I don't know how good this dude is. He hasn't fought Ruiz. He hasn't fought Joshua. He hasn't fought. You know what I'm saying? Like who? Yeah, he beat the Brown Barber a couple times, but that still doesn't. You got to fight the best, man. If you want to be recognized as the best, you got to fight the best. And there's a lot of guys. There's Usyk too. There's a line full of great heavyweights, and the dude wants to retire. So, I mean, that kind of sounds like me a little bit, doesn't it, Schmo?
Well, you know what? Well, here's what Schmo's got to say about
But I will say this though, Schmo. At least in the UFC, I fought the best, and I fought the best of my era. You know?
The Gypsy King,
and
he got all the belts at one point. Obviously, he beat Klitschko. He got all the lineal belts. He did the retirement. He beat the Bronze Bomber Deontay Wilder. But nobody actually beat Tyson Fury to get all the belts. Joshua never did. So Fury, yes, he never fought Joshua, never fought Ruiz, but Ruiz ended up losing in the trilogy to Joshua. But now there's Usyk, the guy on the block. That's the situation.
There's a lot of great fighters, and I can't put him up there, man. Like I said, man, I always care about what legends think. I can't put Tyson Fury. I like the dude. I think he's charismatic, but I can't put him up there. I don't even know if he's the greatest heavyweight in the world right now because show me, man. Joshua, Ruiz, Usyk. You know what I'm saying? There's too many guys that are super good in there. Usyk's undefeated. He went up Olympic champion. You know, went up, beat Anthony Joshua. I mean, if there's anybody that would have put number one right now, it'd probably be him.
Well,
I
if
really would.
If the Schmo could ever see the fight between Tyson Fury and the winner of this Joshua Usyk rematch, if Tyson Fury reclaims all the belts, then you could put Tyson Fury among the greatest heavyweight conversation of all time to the Schmo. He's got that undefeated blemish. But the Schmo compares it to when you want to argue, is Khabib the greatest of all time or is John Jones the greatest of all time? Khabib obviously undefeated, very dominant, but if you look at who he fought and amongst there, did he fight all the top fives to get there? When you had John Jones beating straight killers and dismantling them along the way. That's why John Jones gets the greatest of all time nod over the Schmo. And that's how you put Tyson Fury amongst the Muhammad Alis, who obviously had the losses, but he fought the who's a who for the greatest heavyweight of all time. That's where it stands. But among the best of this generation, you got to put Tyson Fury at the top of this generation.
Yeah. Whatever, Schmo. We can agree to disagree, man. I see what you're saying, but just knock off Joshua, knock off somebody big, beat Usyk, man, and I'll give you that title. But if we never see that, it's stupid. It's like Mayweather Pacquiao. It was like 7 to 8 years before they fought. When they started talking about the fight, and they eventually started fighting almost a decade. It's like, dude, Mayweather fought a different Manny Pacquiao. Even Mayweather's not the greatest of all time. You know, yeah, he's the greatest defensive boxer, the greatest businessman in the sport of boxing of all time, but he ain't the greatest of all time.
Well, if boxing
it's the people that take chances, Schmo, and it's the same reason why I would love to go up to another division and fight, Schmo.
Well, if boxing gives us Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, two of the guys in their prime, two of the top 5 best pound-for-pound fighters, undefeated, all belts on the line. That's the best gift they can give us. That's the Hagler Hearns they could give us of this generation. But let me ask you this about Tyson Fury, because after he beat Dillian White, Francis Ngannou, he was there. He was ringside. He walked inside the cage. And it seems to me both parties are welcoming this idea of this super fight. How would you create this super fight? What set of rules? Because the Schmo had Dewey Cooper and Eric Nixick on the Schmo Zone after he beat Cyril Gane a few months ago, the coaches for Francis Ngannou, to ask them about this hypothetical situation. Triple C, what would make this super fight fair to you?
I think the gloves. I think the gloves and the clinch. I think if you're able to clinch, I think exactly what is a Triton is doing.
Triad combat.
Yeah, triad. Yeah, exactly what they're doing, man. Is like change the gloves, make the gloves a little smaller, be able to clinch and do all that. And I think that's the way you make it fair. Then maybe you do like a. I would like to see like a hockey circle. You know how with the hockey glass, where they're able to kind of like use more of that wall and fight in that sense. You know what I'm saying? And you probably you keep it a decent size. You don't make it too big because you want to see action. But I think the cage should change. I don't think it should be a cage nor a ring. I don't think it should be boxing gloves nor MMA gloves. I think you make it as even as you possibly can, and that's how you create a whole new sport. And I believe that fight will make will do probably way over 2 million buys. Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. I would love to see that fight. And I'm actually really happy for Francis because he is finally going to make a payday and to change his life forever.
Well, the Schmo can agree with you. We would absolutely love to see that fight. Dewey Cooper proposed a very interesting set of rules. He thinks it should be in a cage. Not necessarily an octagon, but a cage. The size of what you would see of an octagon. He also mentioned 8-ounce MMA gloves. So just more bigger than traditional MMA gloves, but more sparring MMA gloves. A lot different than boxing gloves. And very similar to the BKFC, the bare knuckle rules, where you can clinch, and obviously it's going to be a hand fight. And that would make it as fair as possible. Be more 65% to 35% from boxing to MMA, but that's how you would get it the most universal way possible. And the Schmo thinks that actually could work. And heck, why not have that at Allegiant Stadium here in Las Vegas? The Gypsy King's adopted home. Also, Francis Ngannou's adopted home for fighting here in the United States.
Golly, that's shit. You just sold me, Schmo. I'd definitely go, man. That would be a crazy fight. Crazy fight.
Oh, it would be the best, and that's the way to do it. And both men would love to do this. This is the type of spectacle we could see. I think this is better than Canelo and Usman boxing, but I'm still in favor of that. But the only way this is going to work with these UFC guys is Dana White's got to be that promoter. He's got to be the Bob Arum. He's got to be the Eddie Hearn. He's got to be the lead promoter and representing these guys in the UFC. I believe it's something very similar to what he did representing Conor McGregor and the Mayweather boxing deal. Dana White's got to serve as the promoter, and heck, these super fights, you're Dana White, that's Zuffa Boxing. You get your UFC fighters boxing in these super fights. You're the promoter. That's what Zuffa Boxing could start into before it maybe morph into something bigger. Just a little food for thought. But I'm sure they've already thought about this. They're smart people.
Yeah. No, for sure, bro. Man, there's a lot of good things in the works, Schmo, and whatever it is that Francis decides, I think Dana White's out the damn picture, actually. I don't think he's going to promote any of that stuff. So I don't know why you brought up his name, but I believe, Francis is going to be a free agent. He's going to run out his contract, man. So the same reason why he got surgery, is not taking the fight. And he's going to make a shitload of money, man, when he fights Tyson Fury.
Well, I bring it up because I don't think his UFC career is over. I think just because he boxes Tyson doesn't mean it's over. And I feel like him being involved with this is only going to make the relationship more healthy. You're right. Maybe he's not in it. Maybe he's not. I just think he's going to end up being a part of it. Just because, look, you're talking about the baddest man on the planet. You're talking about your guy representing your organization. I just think that's the way it's going to be. But we can also agree to disagree on that. Moving to the bronze medal movement. A crazy Saturday full of combat sports. What caught your eye, Triple C? The Patchy Mix, his victory, Chris Cyborg. You had Andrade with the standing arm triangle over Amanda Lemos. What caught your eye, Triple C?
Man, honestly, those were all good fights, but what really caught my eye, man, is what Bellator is doing with the 135-pound weight division. I mean, these guys have they're elite of the elite fighters, like scrapping, fighting each other, and the winner takes all, which I think is super super cool, man. We just saw Patchy Mitch, which honestly I didn't know if Patchy Mitch was gonna be able to get through Haraguchi, just because of Haraguchi's size, because he's smaller and his distance, his in and out kind of motion. But Patchy showed that he's gotten a lot better, man. And I think there's a lot of great fighters, and there's that other crazy dude that I like too. His name's Dan Sabatello. He won. He's in the Bellator tournament now too, man. He's actually a Chicago boy, and he's got a mouthpiece, a shit talker like Triple C, and he's fighting my boy Leandro Eagle. But I like that, man, because those pit bulls, they they enjoy things like that. It's the big, you know what I mean. The bigger the mouth, the more they can kind of shut up. And but I like the dude. I like the kid. I think he's bringing some great entertainment, which is something that Bellator could really need. You know what I'm saying? And somebody, especially that he can wrestle, he can fight, man. I think it's a dangerous fight for any of those dudes. I really do. I think if people sleep on him, it's a trip, man. I've never caught a wrestler, so I think the Andrade submission was cool. I think she was gonna get worked by Amanda, but that wasn't the case. But I think overall, man, it was a great weekend of fights, man. My girl watched all the fights with me, and I'm like punched out on just fights, dude.
It was a great day for fights all around Saturday. Shout out to Sabatello, Chicago guy indeed. He kind of looks like a young Harry from Home Alone. Shout out to another Chicago reference. Home Alone, filmed in Chicago. Great movie indeed. Love the hair. Love the mouthpiece. I guess the guy didn't have a Twitter. Scott Coker said, let this guy get a Twitter. But hey, Scott Coker and Bellator, promote your fighters. The Schmo loves these Grand Prix tournaments. You got the names. You got to promote these fights. Great fun division right there. Sergio Pettis, as obviously he's the champion. You got a victory over him. He has the injury. Great deal of fights. But Jessica Andrade, the standing arm triangle, and that was the main event over Lemos, the up-and-comer in that division, the killer. But it just goes back to show you, and obviously Andrade, she went up to fight Valentina, but Valentina, every time I look at some of these girls and these fighters, it just goes to show you Valentina Shevchenko is just so much greater and above her competition than any other single fighter in their respective divisions. And that's just what the Schmo's conclusion came to after watching that. I know it's a different weight division, but Andrade, impressive there as well. Loved what you said about Bellator. Moving on to this week in Triple C history, this past weekend was the 6-year anniversary. It wasn't necessarily a great time, but it was a learning time when he lost to Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, who you referenced earlier in the show.
And can I tell you something too, Schmo? Because that was actually yesterday. That was April 23rd. Yeah. I remember there's something about this date that I just don't like. There's something about April 23rd. There's something about this date that I can't. There's something about it. And finally last night, like right before midnight hit, like it was literally like 11:58 p.m. Just like, I think this is the day that I lost to fucking Demetrius Johnson. So then I went and I looked up UFC 197, and sure enough, man, before that midnight minute hit, yeah, it was a day that I got knocked out by Demetrius, which is something that me and him talked about. So much improvements, man. And like I said, man, I owe a lot of my credit to these losses, man, because a loss is what represents your character, man. The true adversity. How is it that you get backed up when you're knocked down? And you can see it a lot with a lot of fighters when they lose. They just don't come back the same. And it's not because they don't have a chin or their head. I mean, that could be part of it, but it's more of an attitude. You know what I'm saying? There's more of it's more about this belief, man. And I think that was the best thing that could ever happen to me, Schmo, because on April 23rd of 2016, I fired all my coaches. I traveled the world. I went out. I was like Ash Ketchum on a Pokemon adventure, and 2.5 years later, I was able to avenge the loss with Demetrius Johnson. It was the best thing that could ever happen to me, and I owe a lot to Demetrius Johnson.
And that's the best part about failure when you got a winner like yourselves, Triple C. You don't fail backwards. You always fail forwards. You learn from the mistakes. You climb the top of the mountain. And then look, maybe it was less than 2 weeks ago. You had him right there in the living room going over everything with him. We just brought it up on the last show. It's great how everything goes full circle.
Yeah, it really does, Schmo, and it's super cool, man. It's super cool to. I've always wanted to be. At the end of the day, man, we competed. We shared blood with each other. We entertained the world, and that's it, man. Like whether you beat me or I lost, like to me, it's all good, man. You gave me an experience that I'll never forget.
And that wraps up another edition of the Triple C and Schmo Show. Make sure you click that subscribe button and download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Google, Apple, Spotify, you name it. What's your name?
I am Triple C.
I am the Schmo. We will deliver, and we are.
Ah!